It is our final weekend football podcast of 2020, and I'm delighted to be joined, as ever, by Mr. Adrian Clarke on the top right of your screen. If you're watching us now on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, please do get in touch. Mark O'Haire as well. Your best bet last week, Mark. You went against your beloved QPR, and it won, mate, and it won pretty comfortably.
Yeah, the result says so. I mean, Swansea weren't that fantastic, in fairness. QPR just at the rate at the moment, a bit of a shambles in both boxes until they go to the league leaders and pull up a point away at Carrow Road in midweek, which is, kind of took me by surprise. Could have actually won it in the last minute as well. So, yeah, bittersweet really when you're opposing the hoops and they go and pull out a surprising draw away at Norwich. But yeah, last week was good stuff.
Yeah, it was a good week in general for us. We had 9 selections. 2 of those games called up. We had 5 winners from 7. Adrian Clarke, not a bad one either for you, mate. That one there, the Cambridge and Leyton Orient, both teams scored pretty comfortable one as well. 55 minutes in and we clicked.
It's so sweet, isn't it? When both teams score early on, it's one of the best feelings when you've had a little small wager on that. So yeah, happy days.
Happy days indeed. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about Southampton against Liverpool, Tottenham against Leeds, Manchester United versus Aston Villa, West Brom against Arsenal. Adrian will give us a couple of EFL selections as ever. Mark has a couple of selections from Italy and Spain, and we will do weekend best bets as well. But before we get into that, I just want to talk about the sign-up offer that is now available at Matchbook. If you want to get involved, obviously you're hearing these guys picking plenty of winners, and you may be going looking at sports books elsewhere and thinking they're not quite the price that Mark and Adrian are quoting. But if you haven't got a Matchbook account, you can sign up today, and your first bet is £10 or more at odds of 2.0, that's even money in fraction terms, or more. Your next bet will be 10 quid. We will match that. So yeah, please do get involved if you have not got an account. Like I said, go on to Odds Checker any weekend and you will see that Matchbook invariably is one of the best prices out there. Right, let's move on. Southampton against Liverpool, first of all. Mark, I'm going to come to you first on this, but let's take a look at the betting at the time of recording at Matchbook. Southampton at St. Mary's 5.0. You can back Liverpool at 1.68. The draw is available at 4.35. Southampton getting 3/4 of a goal start on the Asian handicap. At good odds against there, 2.06. And the total is 2.75, 2 3/4. And yeah, it's very much shaded towards the over, which I suppose Mark O'Haire is no major surprise there at 1.84. Goals are expected. But both teams, I mean, Liverpool back-to-back draws. I think they were obviously unlucky against Newcastle, so they probably should have won that, and obviously against West Brom. But Southampton haven't won a game, I think, since the 13th of December, and, you know, they're down to 9th in the table. Now, to be fair, as we expected, but is there a possibility that the wheels may slightly be coming off at St. Mary's?
I wouldn't go that far. I think it may be just a case of variance coming back to bite Southampton a little bit, because they did have the rub of the green in some of the tight matches earlier this season. But at this time of year, it's a bit of a guessing game to try and work out which 11s are going to be fielded by each team, because it's been such a hectic period. These two teams haven't actually rotated that much during sort of Christmas, so we'll see if they do coming into this game. Obviously, they've got a bit of a rest coming into Monday night, and then it's the FA Cup, so potentially not. But yeah, Southampton went strong against West Ham, did so on Boxing Day as well. So I presume they'll be pretty much the same team here. But it's interesting to hear that some of their players, well, particularly Alex McCarthy, saying that Ralph Hasenhüttl not being in the team or being around the training paddock because of COVID-related issues, has been a blow and has affected them. As you might expect, he's one of the most influential coaches in the division, so that's something to bear in mind. He won't be around for this game, I'm pretty sure. I think his self-isolation expires after the match. But yeah, I think we've talked a few times about Southampton, how they have been edging those tight matches, particularly with the set-piece proficiency of James Ward-Prowse, not just converting free kicks himself, but laying on the plates for someone like Vestergaard, who's also injured as well. So, yeah, if you look at the underlying numbers between Southampton and their season, they're okay. They're not fantastic. They're not bad. They're just okay, really. So, yeah, they have started to slow down a little bit recently. I think if you look at those performances individually, I thought it was quite lifeless against Fulham on Boxing Day, and then against West Ham, they had a flurry of early opportunities and kind of petered out thereafter. So I don't want to be overly harsh on them, because if you look at 2020 as a whole, only Liverpool, City, United and Chelsea have won more points than the Saints, but they're just not creating too many chances at the moment. Ings might be back, but they're 4 games without a win, failed to score in 3 of those. Only had 8 shots against the West Ham side, who on paper looked like they seriously lacked pace throughout the team. Didn't really test them enough for me. So averaging fewer than 0.7 XG over those 4 games as well. So then you kind of look at Liverpool and no Matip, and you just wonder what you're going to get from Liverpool at the moment, because at times they've been absolutely terrific. Against Palace, just so ruthless and efficient. But against Newcastle, didn't go over the line. Against Fulham was just a really odd performance as well. And particularly away from home, they've not been putting teams away comfortably for quite some time. They've not actually been picking up wins most of the time either. So they're not losing matches often. The only loss this season was that Villa game before October's international break. But I think we're going to see something similar to what we saw between City and Saints at St Mary's recently, where we talked up Southampton plus a goal and a quarter. I don't think you're going to get that this time around. I think the line you're going to get is Southampton +1. Yeah. I think Liverpool are more likely to be the winners, but I think it could be a narrow match. A tight match, I should say. So I'd rather kind of oppose the goal line. I think if you go to under 3 goals, you're going to around 1.8. So a better price than Saints plus a goal on the Asian handicap line. You're only losing out if there's 4 goals or more. I actually went back to the start of last season, and Liverpool away from home, only 7 of their 27 Premier League games away have featured 4 or more goals. And this season, 5 of 8 away have featured 2 goals or fewer. So 5 of 8 would be paying out at this price, which I think is fair enough.
Yeah, under 3, as you can see on screen there, just under 1.82. Adrian, in agreement with Mark on a lot of those points. They're tight one, maybe Liverpool just a slightly edge.
Yeah, I had similar picks down, I have to say. Southampton plus a goal was my selection, but listening to Mark there, I'm nodding in agreement. I don't see this being a high-scoring game, and maybe with a slightly better price, the goal line under 3 is more attractive. Liverpool were a bit flat, weren't they, against Newcastle, but they should have won the game. Carl Darlow was fairly inspirational, and the bounce of the ball didn't go Liverpool's way. You get the feeling after what we saw against West Brom, after what we saw against Newcastle, they're going to sweep someone aside soon. Now, I don't see Southampton getting obliterated like they did by Spurs. And I say that because A, they've improved massively, but B, that's the only game they've lost by more than 1 goal this season. Every other defeat, and they've not had many, has only been by a goal. So they stay in matches. That was why I was leaning towards Southampton plus a goal. But yeah, neither side looks at its sharpest. That's for sure inside the final third. So unders, I think, is the safest bet here. But look, when you've got Danny Ings around and he's against his former club, working his way back to fitness, that's a story ready to be written, isn't it? Danny Ings slays Liverpool, the former employers. And then when you've got Mane and Salah, who have had a couple of blank weeks, you wonder. It could easily go the other way. But when you look at the underlying numbers, I think unders or Southampton with a handicap are the picks for me.
Yeah, Thiago going back as well made a real impact off the bench at Newcastle midweek.
Yeah, he'll play, and when he plays, Liverpool are a different team. They'll absolutely dominate the ball, I would imagine. And my feeling is that Liverpool will wear Southampton down and win a low-scoring match. That's where I'm going. I get the impression that's what Mark's thinking too.
He has that effect on the team, Thiago, too, doesn't he? I mean, you even look with Bayern Munich this season, and with Joshua Kimmich being injured the last couple of, you just notice that there's just that missing void there in the middle. So Southampton plus a goal is just under 1.76. So I think the more of a consensus is under 3.0 at 1.81. And of course, if it lands on 3, you get your money back. All right, gentlemen, let's move on. Tottenham Hotspur against Leeds is next on the agenda. Adrian, I'll come to you here first for this one, but just want to bring the prices up on screen at the moment at the time of recording at Matchbook. You can back Tottenham at just under 1.8, Leeds at 4.4, the draw available at 4.25. Leeds getting 3/4 of a goal start on the Asian handicap at 1.94, and the total is a pretty high one at 3.25. Now, I mean, that's probably pretty much down to Leeds United, I would suggest, as their away form indicates that goals are on the menu for any Leeds away games. But Adrian, with Tottenham, I mean, it's been a tough couple of they haven't won a Premier League game in 4 or 5 games. And where do you see the value lying in this one?
Well, yeah, with the goal line, I think it's too high. I genuinely do. I think that's too high. Even though Leeds have got this reputation, and it's fact, a lot of their away games end up being high-scoring affairs. They're also capable of keeping things tight. I referenced the Leeds Burnley game on last week's show, which came in on the unders, just the one goal. Every now and again, when they really focus on that defensive aspect of the game, they can do it under Bielsa. And I think Jose Mourinho will do his thing and sit there and look to play on the counter attack. But I don't know if Leeds will leave themselves as open as maybe they did against Manchester United, for example. Look, you look at this game stylistically and you think, well, Leeds away from home, leaving holes for Son and Kane to kill them on the counter. It's tailor-made for Spurs, and I totally get that. But then when you look at Spurs recently and how cautious they've been and how flat and how few chances they're creating, then you start to wonder, don't you? Look, I think they're ranked 17th for chances created in open play, Spurs, this season. It's a massive downward trend since the Pochettino days. I worked it out. I looked back to 2017-18 for a piece I wrote this week. It's a downturn of 42% in terms of the chances they create in open play. Touches inside the opposition box, they have 17 per game. That is among the lowest in the division. So they're hugely reliant on ruthless finishing, Tottenham Hotspur, and by and large, they have been pretty clinical so far this season. So yeah, how do I see it going? I think the unders is the way to go. I actually fancy Spurs maybe to be a bit too streetwise for Leeds here. Jose Mourinho, of course, against City, very professional performance. Did the same against Arsenal. They let them to come onto them and they picked them off. They just got their noses in front and then said, "Thank you very much. That will do us." And that's kind of how I see this game going. So Spurs to win is my fancy, but in terms of selection, I would go under. I'd be interested to hear Mark's thoughts.
Yeah, and Mark O'Haire, take it away. Because under 3.5 is available at 1.77. In agreement with Adrian here, Mark, or are you back in the overs?
In wholehearted agreement with everything he said. I think Spurs have seen some money in the past 24 hours, and it's easy to see why. You look at Leeds against the big boys, you look at their results and their performances against last season's top six. Out of their total expected goals conceded this season, 53% of that has come against teams in the top six from last season. So what was that? Liverpool, United, Chelsea, City and Leicester. So, just 5 games and they've conceded half of their XG in those 5 games. So you do wonder how they're going to fare against the Spurs side, who will just sit in, contain and counter. We know that's what they're going to do. Leeds will do their utmost to hassle and Harry Kane in the quarterback role, but I just can see many opportunities for them on the counter-attack, ball over the top for Son to race into. Bielsa's not going to change his tact. So, I can just echo everything Adrian said, really, as well. I know Mourinho was a bit irked by the late postponement of the game on Wednesday night. But yeah, exactly. It's going to say it's a positive because they're coming up against the fittest team in the league and they're going to be rested for it. So, happy to take a chance on Spurs, but also that goal line is quite high. So, we'd be happy to pose it too.
Just on that one, so Mark, I mean, talking about the goal line, so we're looking at 3.25, 1.98, or we can back under 3.5, as I mentioned a while ago, at 1.77. 1.77. I mean, the only thing that beats that bet is 4 goals. What do you think?
Yeah, 1.77 for me. I just looked at the Spurs. Spurs are now below 1.8, aren't they? So I'd rather oppose goals and take Spurs. Any short of a 1.75, that's kind of my benchmark on Spurs.
The other factor to consider here is Bielsa. If anyone is not going to rotate ever, it's Marcelo Bielsa. I mean, he picked the same 11 the whole season if he could. If he got no
in the championship, he did as well, didn't he?
Exactly. So you know that even though they're probably knackered, he'll go with the same guys again. And even though they were brilliant, weren't they, against West Brom? I thought that was a sparkling performance. It was swashbuckling, wasn't it? Really, but they were brilliant goals. They were worldies. There was 3 or 4 worldies put together. Can they reproduce that at Spurs? It's going to be
what a wonderful retort to the people who kind of criticised Bielsa for the defeat at United to go and beat Burnley to 0 and beat West Brom to 0 as well.
Yeah, have some of that. And then they went and ruined it with their tweet, but we won't go there.
I was going to go there when Mark was saying about their top five, their lack of success against the top five. I was thinking, I could just clip this up and maybe tag the social people. I'd imagine that person probably has the week off this week, though. So you
got to watch what you say about Leeds these days.
Yeah, very careful. Yeah, I will report. But you know what? If we got a retweet from the Leeds United social code, we'll take them. No problem. Right, guys, let's move on before we go into any more damage there. Manchester United against Aston Villa, potentially, I think it's potentially a really good game here. All of a sudden, Manchester United could go top with a win here. Wow. The 2020 has been a strange year, so all else is new. Current betting at the time of recording, you can back Manchester United just under 1.76. Aston Villa 4.55. The draw is available at 4.35. Villa available 3/4 of goal start on the Asian handicap 1.98, and the total is 3, slightly shading towards the over. Mark O'Haire, we've often been against United on this podcast, a bit like Leicester City. They still have the same defence, but they're not conceding as many goals. That being said, they probably should have hung on for the win at the King Power last day. We didn't mind. We had Leicester plus a quarter of a goal. That 1-0 win against Wolves, are we getting massively excited by this team now, or is it a hold your horses kind of thing? Yeah, I knew you were. I'm going to pitch it up to you. Hold your horses. Explain why not.
You said at the start they can go top with a win here. It's absolute madness. It's hard to kind of get your head around it. They've never been, as close to the top since Sir Alex Ferguson retired at this stage of the season. And considering everything we've said and everything we've seen this season, it just doesn't really add up. Doesn't really change my opinion on Solskjaer. I still think he's incredibly lucky as a coach. I kind of said it elsewhere, but I think I'd put him in the same bracket as someone like Zinedine Zidane, who's managed to win a few Champions League titles, but could still be considered to be a lucky coach. I think we saw it again in midweek against Wolves, not just in how they picked up the 3 points, but also the fact that Wolves had the rest deficit, a really tough schedule going into that game. They looked out on their feet and they did all they could to kind of keep United at bay, but ultimately a deflected goal is what decides the game. And you look at the raw stats, United won the shot count 11-9, but lost the shots on target count 3-5. They've only forced 2 corners in the last 2 games as well. It's just weird, as United have been all season. Their home form and performances have improved in terms of results and the eye test, but the underlying numbers still aren't massively overwhelming, particularly from a defensive standpoint. Going forward, we know what they're capable of doing. But I look at Villa and I think they're being underrated in this game. I think they're one of the stories of 2020, really, since what we saw before lockdown to what we've seen after lockdown. Not just from a defensive perspective, where they've kept, the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season, which is, again, just bonkers, but also going forward, there's so much more than just a Jack Grealish and 10 others. I think you've got Watkins has been a tremendous signing, as has Bertrand Traore, starting to show consistency. El Ghazi's come in and made an impact. You've got Matty Cash's delivery, John McGinn's energy in midfield. There's so much to like about this Villa team. They've had a decent rest since Monday as well. I looked through all the performance data metrics, and Villa, before this round of midweek fixtures, were 4th in terms of expected points. And that's despite playing fewer games than almost everyone else in the division. It's just incredible, really. Unbeaten in 9 away games. They've scored in 12 of 14 this season. So I think they can cause United plenty of problems. They've got Mings and Barkley back for this game as well, which will only strengthen them as well. So, I think they can keep United at arm's length and potentially pick up a point in this game. So I looked at Villa plus half a goal, 2.2. I think that's quite appealing. But obviously you can be a bit more conservative if you like. +1 is at 1.71, which is absolutely fine. But you can back Villa plus 3/4 of a goal at close to even money, pretty much evens there. And I think Leeds is the only game United at home have won by 2 or more goals this season. So it kind of just protects against Villa getting beaten by more than 1 goal. I do expect Villa to put on a bit of a show here and be competitive.
Yeah, Villa +1, just under 1.72 at the time of recording, and I suggest that might actually get a bit bigger closer to kickoff. Adrian, Villa unbeaten in 5, clean sheets in 4 of those games. Mark said it there, and they don't seem to be talked about. It's just they seem to have slipped under the radar in a major way.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of what Dean Smith's doing at the moment. He's got great balance to the team. Douglas Luiz is a player as well that holds it together nicely in front. But down the left, I really like Target with El Ghazi in front. El Ghazi's had 23 shots in the last 4 games. I mean, he had to wait until December until he got a start, and boy, is he making the most of it.
Yeah.
It's incredible. 5 goals in 5. So you got Target El Ghazi, Grealish drifts over that side. You got John McGinn, who's left-footed and often pops up there. I think that they can cause problems for United. You have to respect Manchester United's quality, especially going forward. Fernandes, Rashford in great form. They've got real depth as well. That much is clear. You look at their bench the last few weeks; it's tremendous. So if things aren't going well, Solskjaer can change it. So they have to be respected. But there's a lot to like about Aston Villa for all the reasons Mark outlined. Only 3 goals conceded on the road, which is remarkable. 16 points from 7 away games. So they've been probably better actually on the road than they have been at Villa Park. So yeah, for me, the standout pick as soon as I saw this was Villa with the handicap, and it's take your pick, isn't it? Which way do you go? I had written down here +3/4. Which comes in just under even. But look, I'm liking Mark's spirit here. He's going a little bit bolder. So yeah, I just think Villa can get a point in probably a score draw. Maybe they could even win this game. They have been superb on the road. They really have, and I don't think the odds reflect that.
Yeah, we just cover ourselves with taking Villa plus a goal. If it's a 1-0 Manchester United win, we get our money back anyway. And again, like I said, there's a long 2021 there yet, gentlemen. So let's watch our bank balances in that sense. All right, let's move on. West Brom against Arsenal. Of course, Adrian, I'm going to come to you here for this one. And, you know, what a difference a couple of days makes for the Gunners, man. It's your job is far easier at the moment. West Brom, you can currently back at 5.9. Arsenal at just under 1.65. The draw available at 4.15. Arsenal laying a full goal on the Asian handicap at good odds against 2.13, and 2.75 is the total, and very much shaded towards the under at just under 1.85. Right, Adrian, Arsenal, can they keep their run of form going at the Hawthorns this weekend?
Well, they should be able to, because we've seen a big difference. Martinelli has come into the side, Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, really youthful attacking midfield trio. You know, at the expense of your Willian and Pepe and guys like this. And it's been a breath of fresh air. It really has. They were very mediocre for the first half at Brighton, but put that aside, and the other 3 45-minute performances were excellent. And Arsenal created more chances. They played with more intensity, more speed. And when they do that, they're a half-decent team. They were more than a half-decent team. It'll be interesting to see who gets selected. So obviously Aubameyang's available. And yeah, personally, I still think that you could pick all of the guys I've referenced and Aubameyang and Lacazette, because against West Brom, how often are they going to be in your half, really? I just think play the one central midfielder, potentially Granit Xhaka, you know, one DM, and you could have 2 attacking midfielders in front, Smith-Rowe and Saka, or Smith-Rowe and Lacazette, and you could still find room for the other guys. So be interested to see how ambitious Arteta is with his team selection. My worry is that Arsenal have been very poor against deep defensive blocks this season. They haven't coped well with it at all. Some of their poorest performances have come where they've had the most ball. I think Spurs and Burnley are 2 standouts, but there have been others. So what's it going to be? Is it going to be Arsenal being dynamic, lots and lots of movement, cutting them to shreds like Leeds did? Or is it going to be a struggle? Is it going to be a war of attrition where they have to, you know, be patient to break them down? I wish it was the former, but I fear it's the latter. I fear that this could be a tough watch, but Arsenal will get there in the end. I'm confident they'll win the game, but I don't know if they're going to cut loose in the way that Leeds and Aston Villa were able to. So yeah, for me, I'd rather look at under the goal line, under 2 3/4 is what I've got written down here. I feel they'll win a low-scoring game, a little bit like we saw at Brighton. But yeah, West Brom, how much of a goal threat are they going to offer here, unless Allardyce suddenly rips it up and changes his tactics? I mean, they've hardly had any passes inside the opposition half, let alone efforts on goal. So I think Arsenal can keep a clean sheet, providing they're switched on. It's just, can they break them down?
Yeah, Mark, that is the question. I mean, look, you wonder, like, Arsenal at 1.65 here. I don't know, are too many of us going to be rushing to bet that. But I mean, the unders might be the way to go. In agreement here with Adrian, because there's a lot of consensus, a lot of agreement today, mate. But
yeah.
Again.
Nice one again. Same bet I've got down here as well for the same reasoning, really. It was really refreshing to see Arsenal perform as they did against Chelsea with a different system and a fresh bunch of players as well. They showed the sort of character and grit and determination and the urgency really that we've been longing for quite some time. I know Chelsea almost played into their hands a little bit with their sort of lackadaisical approach, but even still, the sort of first half against Brighton was back to sort of the ponderous ways of the past, but second half they improved and they'll take confidence from that. And I know Adrian would mention that earlier in the season, Arsenal probably fell on the wrong side of a few results where probably a point was fair enough. So they're probably just getting back on an even keel really there. So yeah, I expect Arsenal to dominate possession, dominate territory, and West Brom to sit in and try and nick something. So I feel a little bit for Allardyce after midweek. Obviously, he was kind of lauded for what happened at Anfield last weekend, whereas the reality was take the results out of both of those situations. And it's kind of exactly what we're coming to expect from West Brom under Allardyce. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of itching for this circuit breaker to come in so we can spend some time in the training paddock. I know he's talking about how it's potentially a COVID issue and he wants to be safe, which is absolutely fair enough. He is 66 years old, but you know what he's all about. You know what the underlying meaning is for it. So there's not too much to say about West Brom. Statistically, they are the worst team in the league, both going forward and defensively too. So I'm not expecting them to do anything different than what we've seen in the past. 10 of their last 13 in the Premier League have featured 2 goals or fewer. 8 of Arsenal's last 12 have also. He'll be building from the back, and I think Arsenal might struggle to break them down, but should really get the result. So unders would be my play. Yeah,
I did a piece on West Brom sort of analysing the change as well. It was interesting. I mean, shots wise, they were averaging 7 shots a game under Bilic, it's down to 2.3, I think, under Allardyce. Long passes, 15% under Bilic. I think we're getting towards 30%. Of their passes are long under Allardyce. I think it was 26 or 27. So like he's changing the style. My worry for West Brom and disappointment is that the team was constructed in the Championship to look after the ball, to play a possession-based game, and then be fairly attacking. So and I don't think any of the players that have come in are really suited to the change. So Allardyce has got his work cut out. I'm just not convinced that Liverpool masterclass, if we can call it that, will be replicated on a regular basis, because this team was built to play inside the opposition half, not their own.
Yeah, it just points to maybe a tip of the hat to Bielsa there with Leeds, the fact that they've come up and they really haven't changed their style, but obviously maybe they have better personnel to execute it. Right, just before we move on to the latter stage with EFL in Europe, just want to do a quick recap, gents. So we're going to take Southampton and Liverpool under 3 goals at 1.81. We're going to take under 3.5, Tottenham and Leeds at 1.75. We're going to take Aston Villa plus 1 goal on the Asian handicap 1.72. And we're going to go unders as well with West Brom and Arsenal under 2.75 at 1.85. Right, so consensus there unders to kick off 2021. Adrian Clarke, EFL, where are we finding the value in early 2021?
Look, let's keep our fingers crossed the game's on. My first pick is the League One game, and most of the League One programme last time out was wiped out, wasn't it? At the moment, I believe Swindon versus Wigan is on. And you look at the numbers here. Swindon games average 3.3 goals, second highest in League One. Can score goals, but genuinely can't defend. We talked quite a lot about them this season. Wigan have been involved in some real high-scoring games of late. Their games average 2.8. Wigan score on the road. I think they've got goals in their last 4. For Swindon, over 2.5 has landed 60% of the time. They just, whichever way you look at this game, you feel that probably both teams will score, and that there'll be at least 3 goals. So for me, over 2.5, I think it's priced up quite well, actually, considering the data out there. 1.97 you can get on Swindon versus Wigan over 2.5 goals. So that's my first pick. The next one is in League Two. Barrow got a new manager at the moment. I think Michael Jolly's come in, so we'll see what impact he has. Exeter, a really interesting team that they travel. That's a trek, isn't it? At the start of a new year for Exeter going up to Barrow, I feel a bit sorry for them. But again, the numbers are quite striking here. Exeter away from home, been involved in the highest scoring games, 3.78 goals per game for Exeter matches on the road, which is crazy. 89% of their away games, both teams have scored. Young team, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of talent, but they do make mistakes. And then you look at Barrow, home games, high scoring, averaging over 3 goals per game, and both teams to score has landed 73% of the time in home games. So again, the data for me points towards Barrow and Exeter both scoring here. I don't really know who will win the game, but both teams to score, I think, comes in around 1.75. So I think it's one of those. I think I did one on my insights column a couple of weeks ago, Burton against Doncaster, where the numbers were strong like this, and that landed quite quickly. Hopefully it'll be the same again with Barrow versus Exeter.
I think that was up after like 30 odd minutes or something.
So, I've already backed that one, Adrian. Good to hear.
There you go. Yeah.
Barrow Exeter.
Yeah.
Ah, good man. There is something weird in the air today, isn't there? It's still very worrying.
Mark, take us around Europe. Obviously, a lot of the main leagues are still on winter break, but there's a few that are coming back already.
Yes, Italy is one of them on Sunday. I think all the games are playing on Sunday, and the league leaders, Milan, are away at Benevento. Milan have won 10 of 14 games so far this season, and they ended the calendar year, I should say, with wins against Lazio and Sassuolo, 2 difficult games, considering they had no Zlatan, no Kessie, no Benacer, no Kier, basically the spine of their side, really. But they're still scoring goals. They've scored in all 14 games. They've actually scored 2 or more goals in 26 of their past 27 league games since March. Quite outrageous figures, those. And if you look at their calendar year as a whole, they scored in 48 of 52 matches. Really interesting, exciting team to follow under Stefano Pioli. Zlatan won't be back. Benacer and Kier probably likely to be missing as well, but Kessie will be. But the players who have come into the team have performed really well. Anyhow, Rafael Leao in particular, Rebic has been a great player all season for Milan, and Tonali as well in midfield coming in and doing a job. So I do expect them to be too good for Benevento. They've won 6 or 7 away, scored twice in all of those. You can get, what is it now, 1.8 on Milan, minus 0.75 on the Asian handicap. So you're effectively making money should Milan win away at Benevento. This is a newly promoted Benevento team who've lost 5 of 7 winless games against the top half since promotion. They have improved, it should be said, dramatically really in recent weeks, but they're still going to get kind of out-fought and out-muscled really by a team who are absolutely challengers for the Scudetto at the moment. They've been fantastic, really different gravy under Pioli. So, I think it's a nice way of getting Milan on side in a game that they really should be winning.
Yeah, he's done a tremendous job there, and it's so great to even see Zlatan there with all these young guys. It just seems to be just working in a major way. And I looked at that table 2 weeks ago, and I saw Milan at first position and Inter at second, and I was like, geez, this feels like I'm 18 again. This is great.
Honestly, Italian football is so much more interesting when Milan have strong teams. I mean, it's been deathly dull, hasn't it, with Juve's dominance. So this is brilliant this season.
You'd still miss Berlusconi around the place, but fuck it, he's playing Monza or wherever the hell he is. So what are you going to do? Mark, have you anything else, Mark, or are you saving it for the weekend?
There's another one in La Liga on Sunday as well. So we're talking on Thursday afternoon. There's a big Basque derby on Thursday afternoon. Athletic Bilbao taking on Real Sociedad. Which is a big game for Athletic because their head coach, Gaisca Garitano, is feeling the heat. His position is on scrutiny. Another inconsistent campaign for Athletic. They are normally rock solid at San Mamés, their home ground, but I feel like they might be slightly overrated for this match, considering the derby is taking place just 2 days earlier. This is the early kickoff on Sunday as well when they host Elche. I just think tired minds, tired bodies. It's a big ask to go from basically the biggest game of the season to then playing an Elche side who, I think I've mentioned them a few times on the podcast, are pretty awful in fairness. They're not a good watch. They've only lost 4 times though this season in 14 since promotion. One of those came in the first game of the season where they had a really quick turnaround between promotion and the start of the new campaign. They were complete rabble, but they've shown since that they can put together organised, efficient performances. They held Villarreal away, for example. They're just a dogged team who play off the margins, really, set pieces. They're just ugly. They're hard to break down. They proved it again midweek against Real Madrid, gave Madrid a real awful time really about it, and I just wonder if Athletic have got the nous really to unlock them. So Athletic are being really kind of rated by the market, as you'd expect at home, but the handicap is at 1 goal here, and I want Elche on side with that plus goal start. Athletic don't generate a huge amount of non-penalty opportunities, and you look at their results against teams who they'd be expected to beat, deep line defences. Majority of these have come away from home, but even still, they lost to Osasuna, they lost at Valladolid, they lost at home to Cadiz, they lost to Alaves, they held Getafe away, and they did win 2-1 away at Eibar, who are probably a bit more expressive than the others. But the rest of those are very dogged, deep-line defences who make life tough for you as well. So, yeah, Elche are terrible, it has to be said. But Athletic, have to win this game by 2 goals or more to see the bet lose. And their record at home under Gaisca Garitano at winning by 2 goals or more, despite their home record, which is quite strong, they've only done it on 30% of the occasions, which is going, I think, 2.5 seasons worth of data now. So they don't do it too often. I just think the schedule really is against them. Big derby Thursday, then a tough game on Sunday morning, or Sunday early afternoon. So yeah, I'd rather have Elche on side at the handicap start.
All right, Elche plus a goal there for Mark. Right, let's move on. Weekend best bets. Adrian Clarke, your top selection for your first top first selection for 2021. Where are you going?
Well, I'm going to go to Wales. Actually, going to cross the border. We're not really allowed to do that, are we? Swansea against Watford. Now it's 2 teams definitely in the promotion mix. Two good teams. Obviously, Watford have changed their manager, which was a little bit of a head scratcher, wasn't it, last week? So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, he's got off to a decent start, narrow victory against Norwich. Now, again, you just got to look at the numbers, and also just look at the results for Swansea on their home patch. They don't thrash anybody, and I can't see them thrashing a Watford team that have been really, really sort of dull on the road, for want of a better expression. Watford matches away from Vicarage Road average 1 goal per game. I mean, it's the lowest by miles. And I don't think the new manager is going to come in and immediately make them more cavalier. I know part of the appointment was to do with playing a more front-footed style of football, but that might take a little bit of time. Swansea home games average only 1.55, I think. So they've been very cautious on their own patch, and yeah, just for me, it screams unders here. The last 7 Swansea games under 2.5. Both teams have not scored in all 7 of those games, so one or the other, or it's been goalless. And it's the same for Watford. The last 7 games under 2.5, the lot of them, and only once have both teams scored there. So for me, under 2.25 goals on the Asian handicap. I think it's 1.79 last time we looked. So yeah, I think this is another cagey Championship encounter, and that fatigue is catching up on all of these teams. They are knackered right now.
Yeah, when you get voted
results,
yeah, definitely with the 28th fixtures as well. But Adrian, when you give out a Championship under, mate, I tend to listen and I tend to bet accordingly.
Well, not all of them come in. I mean, for example, the derby at Birmingham the other day.
I know it was 4-0. Yeah,
it had all the hallmarks of a 0-0 draw or 1-0 either way, and Derby just cut loose. So look, these things can always go against you, but the pattern in the Championship the last few months has been low. Go low, and you'll get paid out more often than not.
I have to admit, we didn't have a podcast for those games, but you texted me some of those ones, and in fairness, the rest of them came up. But I was checking Flash scored because I was an early kickoff at 5:30, and I saw it was 3-0 after 35 minutes. And I actually physically nearly got a fright. I was like, "What the hell is going on here? This is not the script at all."
I mean, Rooney's got to get the gig. I think on the back of that. I mean, he's improved Derby massively, but we can't really go into that now. But yeah, he's surprising a lot of people, Wayne Rooney.
Yeah, under 2.25. So in Swansea and Watford for Adrian. Mark, your best bet of the weekend, Matt?
Yeah, I've already mentioned it. Sorry, it's nothing new. But the Milan game away at Benevento on Sunday evening, I think it's a 5:30 start. I think 1.8 on Milan, minus 3/4 of a goal. So you're getting paid out if they win. Half stakes if they win by exactly 1 goal is absolutely good to me. They've only failed to score twice or more, once in 27 Serie A games since March 2019. Benevento, as I said earlier, winless in 7 against the top half since promotion. They've lost 5 of those 7. So I think they'll be. I think Milan will be too good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that one. Very much like that one. All right, we're out of time. Thank you as ever, Mark, and thank you as ever, Adrian. Happy New Year to you and yours. It's been an absolute blast working with you guys throughout 2020. I think we've probably said it before. It's been a small bit of a strange year. We were out of action for a few months as well, but I'm glad to be back and glad to be back with you guys. And a very happy New Year to our viewers and our listeners out there. And thank you so much as well for doing that content survey a couple of weeks ago. We got maybe 400 or 500 responses, so a lot of good stuff there that we will dig into once we get back to the. Well, we're not getting back to the office for a while, but once we get back to normality in 2021, we will dig into and maybe act on a few of those suggestions accordingly. Right, we'll be back next. No, we're actually off next week, guys, because we have FA Cup. We'll be back thereafter. There's a lot of midweek Premier League stuff that we'll be covering as well. Adrian, I think you'll have something for maybe FA Cup for insights. And Mark, I think you're just looking forward to the week off, mate, with FA Cup. You're just like, yeah, whatever. You watch a few games, but you're not really kind of watching.
I'll face on the European stuff next week for you.
Good man, good man. Very much appreciate it. All right, we're out of time, as I said, and we'll be back 2 weeks' time. Happy New Year to all of you out there, and we will chat to you in early 2021. Take care.